Chapter 2, Section 2, we are solving multi-step equations. Our goal is to get this variable by itself. First thing we're going to do is subtract 2 from both sides, and those cancel out, and you are left with 9x equals 19. 21 minus 2 is 19. And from there you divide both sides by 9, and you can either leave your answer as 19 over 9, or if you wanted to change it to a decimal, it would be 2.1 repeating. Number 2, we're trying to get the x by itself, so we will subtract 5 from both sides, and that becomes 6 equals negative 2x. Careful with your negative there. From there, you divide both sides by negative 2, and you end up with x equals negative 3. Number 3, trying to get this x by itself. So I'm going to add 1/2 to both sides, and that would become 2/5 x equals 5 1/2. And I'm going to change that 5 1/2 to 5.5. And from there, to get rid of this 2 over 5, I'm going to multiply both sides by 5 over 2. And when I do, 5.5 times 5 divided by 2, that x equals 13.75. Number 4, we have to combine the variables first. 4y, careful, don't lose the subtract 7y, becomes a negative 3y plus 3 equals 19. From there, we subtract 3 from both sides, and that becomes negative 3y equals 16. And then if you divide both sides by negative 3, you are left with y equals negative 5 1/3. Excuse me, negative 5.3 repeating, or if you prefer to write that as negative 16 over 3, that's okay. Number 5, we need to distribute, and this becomes 4m minus 28 equals 5. From there, you add 28 to both sides, and that becomes 4m equals 33. From there, you divide both sides by 4, and you are left with m equals 33 over 4. If you would like to divide that and write it as a decimal, that is 8.25. Number 6, we have a subtract in front of this quantity, and we have to subtract everything inside those parentheses. So that will become, and change the subtract to plus a negative b. Subtract b becomes plus a negative, and then you have a subtract, and that becomes a plus 12. So 30 equals 19 plus a negative b. When you subtract 19 from both sides, you get 11 equals negative b, and then that negative b, we multiply both of these by negative 1, and then you are left with b equals negative 11. Number 7, Alex belongs to a ski club In this club, students can buy a discount card for $34, and then they can ski for $13 each time, so 13x. After 1 year, Alex spent a total of $99. So that's our equation. Cost him $34, and then it cost him $13 each time he skied, for a total of $99. Solving that, we are going to subtract 34 from both sides, and then that becomes 13x equals 65. And from there, we divide both sides by 13, and x equals 5. And if we were to write that out in a sentence, you would say Alex went skiing 5 times this year. Number 2, Sarah paid number 8, excuse me. Sarah paid $50 to become a member at a gym, and then she pays a monthly fee. There are 12 months in a year, so we will do 12x, and she has paid a total of $314. We are trying to figure out how much the monthly fee is, so we would subtract 50 from both sides, and you would have 12x equals 264, and 264 divided by 12 is 22. So you would say something like Sarah's monthly fee is $22. Solving more equations. Now we have variables on both sides. I'm going to get rid of the 3x, and that becomes 2x equals 18. From there, dividing both sides by 2, x equals 9. Number 10, I'm going to get rid of the smaller variable first. So I'm going to subtract 3y from both sides, and that becomes 4y minus 4 equals 9. We're going to add 4 to both sides, and you have 4y equals 13. And when you solve that, dividing both sides by 4, you can leave it as 13 over 4, or 3.25. Number 11, we need to combine like terms right here. 15 minus 9 is a 6. And then here, when we distribute, that becomes 2x plus 4. Subtracting 2x from both sides, you have x plus 6 equals 4. And then when you add a negative or subtract 6 from both sides, x equals -2. Number 12, we need to start by distributing. So that becomes 2c plus 7c minus 7 equals a -14 plus 5c. These two things can be combined, and you have a 9c minus 7 equals a negative 14 plus 5c. Solving this, you add a negative 5c to both sides, and that becomes 4c minus 7 equals a negative 14. When you add 7 to both sides, you end up with 4c equals negative 14 plus 7 is 7. And then dividing both sides by 4, oops, that's a negative 7, isn't it? Your c then is a negative 7 over 4. 13, you distribute, and that will become 0.5b. 1/2 times 6 is 3. I'm going to change that to a 1.5b and a minus 1. Subtract 0.5b from both sides, and you have 3 equals b minus 1. And when you add 1 to both sides, b equals 4. We have a second page here, guaranteed test question right here. Find the product of r and s. So we need to solve for r. That becomes 3r equals 21 and r equals 7. Subtracting 12 from both sides, 4r equals 16. Dividing by 4, r equals 4. Both of those are correct answers, but we are not done yet. R equals 7, r equals 4. We were asked to find the product, so 7 times 4 is 28. Number 15, we have a chart here for 2 cell phone companies. Question is, after how many minutes do the companies charge the same amount? So $9.99 plus 3 cents per minute, or just a plain $56 a month. Solving this, you would subtract $9.99 from both sides. 56 minus $9.99 is $46.01. And when you divide by 3, x equals 1533.6 repeating minutes. You really can't have 2/3 of a minute, so I would say the companies charge the same amount at about 1,534 minutes. Next one, Speedway. You can buy a Slushy Club card for $5, and then it's 75 cents per slushie. Or at BP, the card costs $10, and then it is 50 cents per slushie. The question is, after how many slushies do you pay the same amount, and what amount do you pay? Well, if we subtract this 0.5x from both sides, you will have 5 plus 0.25x equals 10. And then if you subtract 5 from both sides, 0.25x equals 5. And 5 divided by 0.25 is 20. That means at 20 slushies, you pay the same amount. And then if you put 20 in here, you end up with 20. So if you buy 20 slushies, you would pay $20. Identity and contradiction. If you have an equation that is an identity, it would be something like 3 plus 2 plus x equals 5 plus x. And if you simplify that, you would have 5 plus x equals 5 plus x. And in a situation like this, with an identity, you will have all real numbers are solutions. All real numbers are solutions. And a contradiction, you will have no solutions. And a contradiction, you would have something like 3 plus 3 plus x equals 5 plus x. And if you simplify that, there's no way that 6 plus some number can equal 5 plus some number. And we have 4 examples down here. We simplify, that will become negative 5x plus 4 becomes negative 5x plus 4. If you didn't see the solution there and you continued solving and you added 5x to both sides, you would have 4 equals 4. It's a true statement. It's always going to be a true statement. So our solution here is all reals. Number 18, 12x plus x is 13x minus 3. 5x plus 8x is 13x minus 4. If you subtract 13x from both sides, you have negative 3 equals negative 4. That's not true. It's never going to be true. So there are no solutions. Number 19, as you distribute, that becomes 3x minus 24 plus 2x equals 5x minus 24. 3x plus 2x, 5x minus 24 equals 5x minus 24. If you subtract 5x from both sides, negative 24 equals negative 24. That is always true. So that is going to be all reals as the solution. Number 20, as we distribute here, 4, that will become a minus x. And when you give the negative to the 6, it's also a negative 6 equals negative x plus 2. 4 minus 6 is a negative 2. And if you add x to both sides, you have negative 2 equals 2, which is not going to be true. So there are no solutions.